Hey guys, welcome to SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host. You can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessino. I don't know why I said that so fast. I could have slowed that down, but you can follow me on Twitter at It's Jessino. And this is going to be the live match preview for Arsenal versus Leeds. We play them tomorrow. And yeah, it's a perfect storm for an Arsenal mistake, isn't it? I mean, we just played really well against West Ham at home. It was a game that I think for some came as a surprise, a welcome surprise because of how well we actually played, and we were able to take advantage of an opportunity to jump into the top four. But now we're coming up to a short run of games, especially against Leeds and Norwich away, that are very winnable. We are by far the favorites in those matches, and but they're away from home and our away form hasn't been great. So it's just this weird storm of like, yeah, we should be winning these, but what's going to happen in these games? So I am sorry, I am excited, but at the same time I'm like, what's about to happen? So we'll definitely see, but we're going to talk about all those things, predictions, lineups. Should things just stay the same? Have we found the right cocktail of players to to get the best out of them? Should there be some sort of change in that front line? ESR comes in and scores a goal, but Martinelli scored a goal, but Odegaard played well. These are good problems to have. And then moving back through the pitch, should there be a change in midfield? Can Sambi Lakanga play against Leeds? Get him some minutes. It's going to be interesting. We know that at the moment, AFCON is coming. It hasn't been canceled as of yet. There are rumors that it could be, but at the moment, it's still going ahead. And so maybe this would be a good opportunity to give Sambi Lakanga some minutes, because I would think that he would play, in January while Thomas is gone. So it's interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how Arteta manages the busy holiday schedule should it continue to go on. We know that there's COVID issues, but how does he keep everybody happy? Should he switch things up? It's going to be very interesting. But to kind of talk about all these things and just have a light conversation, a good little preview is Soul. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. Souls, hey, how is it? How's it going?
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, busy Christmas period, isn't it, for everyone? So, yeah, it's quite nice actually being able to watch football and then being like, oh, by the way, I'm watching Arsenal again. Yay.
I know, right? Oh,
I
so
can't believe we're playing tomorrow. It's like I've only just watched the team play. I'm not used to it.
exactly. I mean, well, we are kind of used to it. When we were like in Europe, I don't know if you remember, but we used to play
Yeah,
in
we used
Europe.
to be.
We would
Don't know what that
play
was
two
like.
games a week, and now it doesn't feel like it feels different now. But we are playing two games in a week. Really good win against West Ham midweek. I was pleasantly surprised to see us pressing, um, trying to take advantage of their weaknesses. At the beginning of the game, it was a little bit of a wrestling match to, assert yourself. And, I think Arsenal did at a certain point just push West Ham back and say, okay, we're going to play our game. You try to stop us. And they couldn't stop us. But Kyle Saka has a magnificent game. Martinelli is just shining at the moment. ESR comes in and scores a goal. Odegaard had a great game, back five, clean sheet. I mean, how were you shocked at the performance? Was that kind of a culmination of all the things that we had kind of hoped to see at some point, but it came together at the perfect time for 90 minutes against opposition that we needed to beat? What did you think about that West Ham game, and how proud are you that, these young kids are performing and delivering?
I'm very proud of him because that's the first time as an Arsenal fan, I think, in quite a few years actually, we put a performance that we needed. We asked them a question. Can you now perform under the pressure, under the fact that you've now lost to Everton, you've lost to United? Yes, you bounced back against Southampton, but let's be real, they're 16th in the league. We've not beaten a team that sits above us in the league table this season, and we did that. We went there, and don't forget the issue that I have is people are going to sit there and go, "Well, we should be beating West Ham traditionally," but if you look at them in the past few seasons, they're beating Chelsea, they're beating Liverpool, they're beating Man City, they're beating the likes of United, and they've beaten all the top teams, and we've gone there and we've absolutely schooled them. It's not even a matter of, oh, we got two lucky chances and we took them. No, from minute one to minute 90, bar maybe the last part of the first half, they kind of got back into the game. But to be honest with you, that was a flawless performance from minute 1 to minute 90 to really hold ourselves. And the question was asked, obviously, with all the controversy around the club and whether it was Arteta versus Aubameyang, whether the players were down to, whether Lacazette could take the responsibility, knowing that obviously Aubameyang's so close to him. And they responded, and that's the question I had for them. Because that game, to me, tells me a lot about who maybe is to blame. Because if they sat there and down-tooled, I'd be like, right, okay, we need to now look. We need to look at Arteta anyway. That's not really a question of now we look at him just because this happened, but it kind of puts the limelight on Arteta that you've effed this one up for us. But to be honest with you, they've gone out there, they put their heads up, they've done it as professionals, what we've asked them to do. Press from minute 1. It was very contrasting differences, and I think this performance actually annoyed me more than anything because we know they can do this. So why can't we see this against teams away from home? And even the United game really pissed me off because I was like, well, we played well, but then we became Arsenal to lose. Well, yeah, to lose the game with Odegaard, and I think we're getting there. And for me, it's hard to say you want to give Arteta time because of we want to be fourth. We don't want to end up in a situation where we're eighth. But the conversation was, for me, he's showing he's a competent manager. He can deal with adversity and he can take this team and really turn them around. Okay, yes, he's had 2 losses on the bounce before he gets somewhere, but he's showing he can bounce back from a loss. And then the Everton loss was a big blow because we didn't expect that. That was one that just came out of the woodworks. And we bounced back against Southampton, then we bounced back against West Ham, which no one gave us any credit to really beat them. No one gave us a chance other than Arsenal fans. So I'm proud of him. I think that's a flawless performance, arguably one of our best performances under Arteta, and may it continue.
Yeah, I agree. I think that everybody was kind of looking to see how this team is going to respond to the Aubameyang drama. And personally, I thought that it would go just like that because beyond, Lacazette, which I think there were more questions about because of his relationship or perceived relationship with Aubameyang, I just couldn't see that group of players, that young group of players that, let's be real, most of them have either been re-signed and given a lot of responsibility and playing time and development and responsibility under Arteta, or they've been signed by Arteta himself. Tomiyasu, Ben White, Gabriel, Tierney re-signed under Arteta and given a lot of faith. Ramsdale, Thomas Partey was signed under Arteta. Granit Xhaka has always been a favorite of Mikel Arteta. It's a perceived favorite at the very least. Odegaard brought in on loan and then signed by Arteta. Bukayo Saka, ESR, arguably the pillars of Arteta's kind of resurgence at the back end of last season. So when I looked at it, I just thought, how is this team going to turn their back on Arteta? Does Aubameyang really have that level of influence on this group that Ozil had with the old group? And I just couldn't see it. Then when it came to Lacazette, I don't think Lacazette really played for Arteta. I think he played for himself. I think he has enough pride and respect for himself to play, and he has to play for a contract. He actually he can't down tools because he needs a new deal, So for me, I wasn't shocked to see that they did that, but it was a good way to kind of quash all of that kind of stuff. And waking up this morning, obviously there was the news that Aubameyang is not going to be training with the team. It looks like it could go on up until or even maybe past AFCON. We saw that he had arrived at training an hour and a half before everybody else, which kind of already put that out there that he's probably not training with the actual team. And do you think that the stripping of the captaincy was one thing, and I think that was the right decision. Personally, for me, it was the right decision. Suspending him from a game, not letting him be a part of the team. He's also not going to be a part of the team against Leeds. But do you think taking it that step further to you can't even train with the team? You're going to be doing some training separately. Do you think that that's taking it a little bit too far and kind of keeping that fire going when maybe it doesn't need to? Or do you think that maybe something else has happened that we're not privy to that is making this a necessary step for Mikel Arteta?
It's a tough one because obviously there's been that sort of back and forth between fans saying that he should have kept it in house, and I think he has. I think what's out there, he can't hide. He can't hide the fact he went for a tattoo. He can't hide the fact that he went to see his mum or deal with his mum, whatever the situation there was. Obviously, these are kind of, especially when you're a Aubameyang, it's difficult to hide those stories. So, but obviously Arteta's fed into that. Said, look, he did come back late for that, and with COVID protocols, etc. That's why he's not playing. Obviously, as a leader, you need to be sort of lead by example. If Arteta gives Aubameyang this much leeway, it means the entire team gets that leeway. Otherwise, you start to disrupt the dressing room or your employees, should we say. And even if you look at it in our own lives, for example, when we go to work, if one person, just because they've been promoted to, let's say, a senior team member, or a captain or a team leader or whatever, you kind of want to equate it to in a working environment, if they then start getting more privileges, like for example, they turn up whenever they want, they do whatever they want, they can go on holidays whenever they want. I know he didn't go on a holiday and he went to see his mom, but even that privilege is given in business, and they'll be like, look, all right, well, we can give you 3 days, go sort out what you need to sort out, but be back. And I think the club did what they needed to. I know people are sat there, but your parents come first. Yes, they do. But at the end of the day, when you're employed by someone and they've given you the privilege to be able to go sort out what you need to go sort out, you should count your blessings and not take the piss. And I don't think that's where it stops. I think there's been a lot more that's gone on behind the scenes that we've not been aware to, and I don't think we need to be aware of, because we can see on this little thing how much of a disruption between the fan base it's caused. Like, people are now questioning man management, people are questioning the team, people are questioning the squad. I think just keep it in house. Whatever's happened has happened. We need to just, sometimes it's hard to do, but we need to trust the club are doing the right thing. For me, it was, if they came out and did not perform, I'd have been like, right, Arteta has taken this too far. But if the squad is performing, I'm not gonna lie, I know this, but I'm done with sentiment now. I'm not here for Aubameyang FC. I'm here for Arsenal Football Club. If they continue winning, I couldn't care less if Aubameyang's still the captain but doesn't play, because at the end of the day, I need my team to win first before I care about whether Aubameyang and Arteta have got this little dispute going on. But there was a really good point made by someone, I can't remember who I was listening to, but they actually said maybe Aubameyang was banking on this divide that people don't really want Arteta in the job, and for this to happen, people were going to take Aubameyang's side, and that Arteta could have potentially lost his job on the back of this. But what's actually happened? He's actually lost the battle, because the fans couldn't care less. The players are doing their thing. They're like, look, we're playing for the club. We don't really care that you've been stripped. That's you and Arteta problem. You go deal with that. We're gonna play our football. And to be fair, we've had two of our most best performances this season. So I don't know. I really, really don't know what's gone on
Well,
there
none of
to
us
really,
none of us know.
yeah.
I think that's the thing. Is like we're all kind of just speculating. But one thing I will say was that when the original report kind of came out about him not coming back on time and stuff, and then they listed out the infringements that had already taken place. One of them I didn't even know about, that he didn't show up for a COVID test before the a Europa League game. So essentially, for me, that's like 4 infringements in about a year's time. Some of them we didn't know about. So I have no doubt that there probably are other things that have happened that the club has covered up. And so, even Usab's rubber band, thank you so much for your super chat, says, Jess, I'm sure that there's a lot behind the scenes things that have been happening with Abba. And so it's all speculation, and we're all just kind of like grasping at straws trying to put two and two together. And so we don't know for sure. But if somebody told me that we've been kind of covering things up for a long time, and Arteta just said, forget it, and just was like, I'm just going to put it out there, then it is what it is. And so I don't think at Arsenal Football Club there's an opportunity to keep things like this under wraps. It's very difficult. We're a huge club. People care about what's going on, and they're always chomping at the bit to figure out what's the next scandal happening at Arsenal Football Club. But I hear what you're saying about maybe he was banking on that divide, because there was that divide when Ozil had a very similar situation. And so when it happened, the first thing I thought was, does he have that level of influence? Maybe he realizes that he doesn't. and so we'll see if he comes back in or doesn't. But being out for the Leeds game and then it already being reported that like he's probably not going to be training with the team until at least after AFCON. To me, that doesn't spell somebody that's going to be back in the team anytime soon or is a part of the plans. And what's interesting is that I was thinking to myself that I feel like Arteta gives you enough rope to hang yourself. I think he knew that he kind of had to re-sign Aubameyang, get him as a captain, get him on side, played him, gave him enough like so that he could do well. And then when he tore his draws, he just was like, okay, this is my chance to just kind of move you out, like, so that's just kind of how I see it. It was just an opportunity, and Arteta's just
You know
like,
what they say, that the
you
nicest
know,
people can be the harshest when you really piss them off, and I think that's what's happened here. He's trusted Aubameyang. He's given him enough opportunity because we know this isn't the first incident. We know the North London derby, as a public one, because obviously he turned up late to a game, so you couldn't really hide that. And then obviously now we're hearing he's late again. I don't think it's. The issue is the captaincy and keeping him out of a few games. Fine, but to me, this spells series of issues. And we've seen this before. We've seen this, throughout his career at every club he goes to. After a certain period of time, he has a lot of trouble. And I mean, I can't believe Tuchel was talking the way he did as well, saying, "Oh, it's a bit harsh. Strip your captain like that." When he did the same exact thing in Dortmund when he suspended him because of similar situations. So, look, people are going to talk because Arsenal are the easiest fan base to rile up. I think we need to use our common sense sometimes, and we don't know what the situation is. I can't say it's harsh because maybe it isn't. Because if the players are performing, I have to side with Arteta. If the player's down tool, or if a player comes out a bit upset about it, but not a single player seems upset. So I can't really sit here and say that it's harsh yet.
yeah, no, I hear you. And, Herb says even when Abba was poor last season, Arteta still started him in every Premier League game except for one. So he can't say that Arteta doesn't like him. And that's very true. Even after the North London derby, I think he was brought kind
Straight
of
back in.
quickly right back into the team. So it's not like he hasn't had chances. And, Colin, I do hear what you're saying about we're not really in fourth place, but I don't think there's very many Arsenal fans that are saying that we're in Champions League. There's nothing left to do. I think we're all pretty clear on the fact that Spurs and Man United have games in hand. That doesn't necessarily mean that those are definite wins, but we're in fourth at the moment, and I don't think anybody's under the illusion that it's fourth place. The whole thing between Xhaka and Aubameyang is completely different because Xhaka was stripped right away. Aubameyang had 4 infractions and was stripped after the 4th one. Xhaka was stripped after the first thing that he did when under Emery as well. So you have to remember that we're talking about Xhaka as a captain under Unai Emery. Arteta never made him captain again. Yes, is he still at the club? Does he still get red cards? Absolutely. But I think it's a little bit harsh to say that the situations are similar when Xhaka was stripped immediately. Like immediately, he was stripped immediately. So I don't think it's really the same. We're talking about a player that the fan base doesn't like because they don't think he's good enough and he gets red cards and does bonehead things on the pitch. But ultimately, he's committed. He shows up on time. He's professional. The only thing that he did was slam the armband down, and he got stripped for it. Aubameyang had 4 infractions that we know about, has now been stripped, and we don't know what else has gone on. And also, Xhaka was under Unai Emery, so it's not really like the
Different
same. Like, you know what
situation,
I
yeah.
mean? So, yeah. But do you think that this is the end of Aubameyang at Arsenal? Do you think he may have played his last game for Arsenal, or do you think there's a chance that he can come back in?
I think there's two questions to be asked. Like, do we want him back in, and do we think he'll come back in as well? Because his form, I'm not because the issue is like if we're performing without him, then I don't really like. I'm not missing a player that I don't really see a benefit. Because yes, he works hard, but for me, I don't know whether he's committed. Because yes, working hard, but Martinelli can do that, Lacazette can do that, but I need Aubameyang to be Aubameyang, and I don't know. Like, to me, I think we should have sold him, to be honest, before we even. I know hindsight's a brilliant thing, but we probably should have sold him before we gave him that big contract. And that's for me the way that I see it. I think even if this didn't happen, we needed to look to move him on because he hasn't really hit the ground running. Last season, fair enough, you can give him the leeway because he had a lot of things going on personally as well as just his health. So you're like, all right, give him a write off, and then we'll see what he does this season. And this season, he's been no better, and he looks actually less committed to the club. So I think it is probably just time. Let's just move on. Let's change the culture, and we need to just get rid of the old and just bring in new because that's clearly working at the moment. And Aubameyang's a part of the old regime. Lacazette's also a part of the old regime, but he seems to be someone that everyone likes. So yeah, I think get rid, just bring in because we need a striker. So bring Martinelli in until that happens.
It'll be interesting to see if we can shift him on before the end of his contract. I just think that the wages and his form, contractual situation make him a very, very, very
Yeah.
difficult person to move on unless Barcelona is dumb enough.
Well, we'd have to
And
do him on a free and just let someone take the contract. That's the way I see it.
yeah, that's
But that'd be
probably
the
the
smartest thing
only.
to do rather than paying him out. To be honest, like
Well, the thing is if we don't believe that he'll be a benefit to us in the locker room, like he might be somebody who's disruptive or sulking or whatever, and he's no good to us because we know that Aubameyang is an emotional person, or that's how he's perceived to me. That he likes to feel loved, he likes to feel like the man, and stripping him of the captaincy, bringing in a new striker, and making that person the man, and moving past him doesn't seem like a situation that would, in my mind, make Aubameyang happy. So we probably will have to move him on a little bit sooner than we wanted to. But at the end of the day, I don't really care. Like, I have to be honest. I want as quickly as possible to see the turnover. I want all the old players out. Leno, Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Xhaka. I want them gone as soon as possible so that we can just start anew. Because for me, a lot of those players are synonymous with the decline over the last 5 years, and I know not all of it was their fault. But looking at them sometimes just makes me feel like I'm stuck. So I don't really, it's not really a big deal to me because, especially because the team played well against West Ham. But there's about 100 of you guys watching. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's talk about what Arteta said about Pepe, though. He did have some words about Pepe saying that he needs to work harder, and he's just kind of out in the cold at the moment. I need to find the quote.
I've
But
got him
Souls,
here.
you got
Yeah,
it?
so
Okay, go
one
ahead
of
and
them
read
he
it
said
out.
with Nicolas Pepe's situation, it's something similar. I've highlighted on many occasions. It's because of what I see every day. That's with Nico as well. And then the other thing that he said was it's with all the players that they are not having a lot of minutes. With the amount of games we're having, there's not enough room. With Nico's situation, it's similar. He needs more opportunities to show what he can do. And the last game, he hasn't had them. So from my interpretation, like we were speaking off camera, it shows to me that according from other players anyway, from like Nketiah, for example, to Bukayo Saka, to Lacazette, Martinelli, ESR, Odegaard, that he's just not been on their level. And to be fair, like even if I look at it from a fan's perspective, not even as a football analyst or anything like that, the way I see it is that he does break a lot of our attacks down. He seems to be off the pace in terms of what we need from him. Does he guarantee you a goal and assist? Yes. But can we score more without him? Probably, because of how fluid we are and how much better our transitions look and how more fluid we look through an ESR and a Saka in comparison to having a Pepe on the pitch. Sometimes we're a man down with Pepe. So I hear that. Do I think he needs more opportunities? The opportunity it's the Martinelli situation all over again, where the chances Martinelli got at the beginning of the season, we can all, without bias or without the love for Martinelli, could say he didn't do enough to start. But recently, especially from the Newcastle game onwards, and the little cameos that he's had, he's proven he can play. And now, unfortunately, he's put himself above Pepe. Um, and Pepe just needs to work harder. I've not seen even a cameo appearance and gone, that deserves a start, or even a start that he's had and gone, you can't drop Pepe. I felt no, you've got to drop him. I've not seen enough from him.
I mean, I have to be honest, the first time that Arteta brought in Nketiah, I thought he was done for. I get that. I was saying this in one of our group chats that I brought this up, and it was like, well, Nketiah is playing well. He's been playing well since preseason. I was like, honestly, I think that substitution is 70%. Yeah, Pepe, I want you gone, and 30% Nketiah is actually playing well. I think Nketiah played well enough for us not to side eye it as much as we probably would have. No shade to Nketiah, but I don't think that. I think it's more just the fact that Arteta's like, I'm not playing you, Pepe. Like, I'm literally not going to play you. It's pretty obvious, I feel like. And so, with that, coming up until December, he'll be going to AFCON. And after AFCON, he'll have about 3 months or so to really prove himself. Because remember, he's coming up to the third year, like the end of the third year of his contract with 2 years left. So I would imagine that it'll be difficult to get rid of him in January because of AFCON. I think it'll be difficult to sell players, move players around while they're supposed to be at the African Cup of Nations. But I think he's gone at the end of the season. I think we'll loan him out to somebody and then loan him until we can't loan him anymore. I think he's such a risk because it's hard to really gauge whether or not he's good or not. But I have a friend that kind of equated him to Gervinho in a way, and that's no shade to him. But, Gervinho is somebody who I think is still playing in Serie A and is pretty
Yeah,
good
it's been okay.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's kind of been, I think that's the kind of player that Pepe is. He needs to be in one of those types of leagues. So I could easily see us loaning him out. But the idea that I don't think he's going to get another chance to really, even if he does get it, I don't see him taking advantage of it because he came in against like Southampton at the end of the game and he was just, you could tell with body language. I know you're not supposed to read body language. I know he has one of those aloof kind of body languages, but like, let's be real. Like, you know what I mean? Pepe, I
That's
just
what I
think
mean. Like,
he's done.
yeah, I don't think he. The thing is, you can tell like when a player's days are done at a club, and he's one of them where everything just about him tells me that. Like, I get when people bring up like last season or the end of last season, but the pressure was off. Like when we really need a player to dig deep and find another level, he hasn't shown that. Yes, he did it in the Europa League against oppositions that, let's be honest, he should be doing like 10 times better against anyway. So he is heads and shoulders above those oppositions. And I don't expect him to do it in the Europa League. I want him to be doing it in the Premier League that we paid for. And unfortunately, look, sometimes signings don't work out, and this just happens to be one of them. Yes, he was also really good in the semi-finals and the finals of the FA Cup. He's given us enough to say, you know what, yeah, well done, thank you for your services. But unfortunately, with the way we're moving forward, you just don't fit that anymore. And we've grown beyond you, and that's what it is for me.
Yeah, especially when you have players like Emil Smith Rowe and Saga and Martinelli that are starting to show real quality in the final third. I think what was really keeping him top of mind for a while was the fact that they hadn't found their shooting boots yet and they didn't have end product. Now that they're kind of showing it a little bit and Martinelli's back in the fold, it's going to be really difficult for him to get back in. So again, I think we're slowly turning the page on Nicola Pepe, and it's one of those signings that we'll look back on and be like, whatever happened? Like, why did that happen? And I think the club does need to kind of look at themselves and figure out how and why. I think a lot of it was Raul, obviously bringing in a player, but they need to avoid that at all costs, because this has been a very expensively bad signing. And I don't necessarily believe that it's because Pepe is the worst player I've ever seen. I think it just was not a good fit, and we can't afford to be spending 72 million on a player that just doesn't fit. But yeah, less said about that, the better. But let's kind of move on to Leeds a little bit. Leeds have like 5 players, like 5.5 players to play against us. They're in terrible form. And can I just say that I've always had an agenda against Leeds? I just
Yeah,
always
you have.
thought that even like last season, they were like, oh my God, we're like the Man City of the championship. It's like, well, go back down there and be Man City because you're not doing shit up here. Like, they were just so annoying. They all had buns. I just felt like it was just like weird. And then they were like fetishizing like Bielsa. And the thing about Bielsa is like, I get that he's kind of like the godfather of a lot of the schools of thought that some really big managers have kind of led with over the last like 10 years or so. But this guy is sitting on a bucket, an upside down bucket with a little pad on top of it, crunched up in a ball on the sideline. I think he's going under the radar as somebody that is needs to get sacked. Like I'm looking at him like he has that murder ball that they were playing. Now, see, I'm talking all this shit now and watch them beat us, but that murder ball that they were playing, I think those boys are running to the ground. I think those boys are running to the ground. I really think that the way that they were playing was always unsustainable. But for you, when you look at Leeds now from what they looked like last season, which I do think they benefited massively by no fans in the stands. A lot of these teams that were playing well last season, I think no fans in the stands gave them like one of those advantages, and now they don't have it anymore. But what do you think about Leeds now? I mean, we beat them once already this season in the Carabao Cup, I think. I forgot that
Yeah,
we even played them. Like
yeah,
honestly,
we did.
because
Yeah,
we beat them so
wasn't it like
easily.
2 or 3-0 or something?
It was 2-0 and we were terrible and we played like our third string. Like it was crazy. But what do you think about Leeds now? Like last season it was very much like they're full of energy, pressing man to man, this offensively robust team. Now to kind of like this flat team that's not really playing as well. What do you think has happened to them over the last year or so?
They've just been figured out. I've said it for a long time. I don't rate Bielsa right now. I think he's been highly overrated in his end of his Leeds tenure. Really, I mean, yeah, well done in the championship and everything, but at the end of that is the championship. Like you'd expect a lot of managers to go there and do that. And for me, it's just you can't come to the Premier League being. Unfortunately, you can't be a promoted team, come to the Premier League and expect to just get away with attacking football. You can't do that. You need to also know how to defend. And I don't think Bielsa knows what defending is, like from the looks of it. I can't remember the last time I've sat there and gone, you know what, Leeds look good defensively. I can't remember when I've heard that. And this is why, like, I'm not even. I know people are nervous because they've only got 10 senior players, etc. They're going to have a very young bench and a lot of their sort of under 23, should we say, playing in their first team. Bamford's out. The only player they really have is Rafinha. Rodrigo's out, so Gelhardt would probably be their striker tomorrow. Um, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even scared. I don't. I know this may come back to haunt me, but I'm not. I wasn't scared if they had their first team. I couldn't care. The only player that I watch out for is Rafinha, and I can't believe he's at Leeds. I'll be honest with you. Like that's a player that we could look at. To be honest with you, to fill a lot of our voids that we've got, especially to bring Martinelli into the centre and let Rafinha do the winger work because he's Martinelli's more of a centre forward for me, and then Rafinha can do the same job but on the wing, and that's the only player I like. The rest of them, I think, they're mid-table at best, and we should. If we won, look, the thing is, I don't know about whether we'll get top four, but if we want any hope, these are the games we should be winning, and. I'm not saying. Look, I know City are a different breed to us, and City are a different level to us but they pumped them 7-0. And do you know what Bielsa's going to do? Not change a thing. So just go there and bang them. Just smack. First 5 minutes, I want to go. That's what we need to do. We need to go there and go, you know what? You're not even in the same category as us if you really stand a chance. Because if you can blow that and get the goal in the first minute, in the first 5 or 10 minutes, that game is yours. You are going to
Yeah.
absolutely bang them.
What I just want to say really quick is that I see that there's like a lot of people in the comments saying, "Where are you getting all this confidence from? You're bad away from home. Leeds could do this, Leeds could do that." My analysis on Leeds would be the same regardless to if we were the best team in the league or not. I'm talking about Leeds singularly away from like us versus Leeds. I'm not saying we're going to pump them. I'm not saying that we're going to smack them, but what I am saying is that I think they overperformed last season. They're massively overrated. Bielsa has ran those boys into the ground, and I think he is on fraud watch. That's just all I'm saying. But that doesn't mean that I think that, first of all, I still think we're a better team than them, and we should be beating them.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's all
With or without
that's all
injuries,
I'm
we should be
saying.
beating them.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying is that it's not about I'm not going to start saying that they're a better team than I think that they are. because we don't perform well away from home. We should be beating them and pretty easily. That's all I'm saying. So that's it. Their side is depleted. Even if it wasn't, I'd still feel like we should beat them. They have not performed well. And I just think at some point they need to look at Bielsa and just maybe, I mean, I know that he's done so much to get them up and they did play really good football, but those boys are ran ragged. But nevertheless, it's the perfect storm for Arsenal to go right back into their shell and play down to the level of the opposition. I felt like that's what we did against Everton. Watching them play against Crystal Palace, or like, I was just like, I couldn't believe that we had lost to Everton. I really couldn't. Not because they're better than I thought, but because we played so bad, like to their level. And if we do that against Leeds, we will get beat. And we can't do that. Now, the last time that we played them, I think we played them at home, in the Carabao Cup. So that gave us that advantage. We're really good at home, but really shabby away from home. So do you envision the away form coming back to bite us in the butt this time around, even after such a good game against West Ham?
This is why I get so annoyed, because the way Leeds play perfectly suits the way we play, and it can play right into our hands if we just play the way we do. There needs to be no tinkering. Just play your football, and this is what now. This to me just shows the culture of Arsenal Football Club, and whether it's as far along as we thought it was, because I do think there's a culture change. I do think there's a demand for success, and my agenda that we spoke about, where I think when Xhaka's in the team, we sustain performances a lot longer in games than we do without Xhaka. So we'll see that tomorrow. Let's see whether Xhaka is the leader we thought he is. Because even when you look at that West Ham game, I think it was like 60, 70 minutes in, Tierney just decided to stand in front of Xhaka, and Xhaka was screaming at him to get forward and attack the space, and Tierney was just looking at him. And I think what Xhaka brings to the table may be what we needed away from home. And I know people hate Xhaka because of the player, but you can't deny his leadership. There is something about his leadership that just brings performances to this team. So I the thing is, it's such a winnable game, but when we say that, we lose. So it's a frustrating.
People are saying draw. Like, there's a lot of
No,
people like
man.
draw, 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 draw,
No.
draw. And yes, Owen, if even after we lost to Everton, I said that they were shit.
Yeah, he's still a
Like,
fraud to me. Like, he's still
he's,
overrated
he's
right now.
still he's still on fraud watch. Like, it's like nothing changes. Like, if we lose to Leeds, it's because we play bad. Period. Like, there's just no way. But personally, I don't think we're gonna lose this game. I feel like this is going to be a game where I do think that we won't look like we did against West Ham. We won't have that level of arrogance. But I think that we will beat them. It'll be like a 2-ish one. But what I do want to ask you is, in terms of that midfield, do you see there needing to be a little bit of rotation, playing so many games so quickly? Played against Southampton, quickly played against West Ham, now quickly playing against Leeds. Xhaka is just coming back from injury. He may need to play himself into fitness, but even like Thomas Partey, do we want to take him out and maybe put in Lukonga, and get him some minutes, gearing up to the January kind of time where Thomas will be out for AFCON? Do you think that this is an opportunity for Arteta to lightly rotate the squad, or do you think it's double down, triple down, quadruple down on a team that's played well for about, let's say, 130 minutes, because they played well again, 90 minutes against West Ham and about 45 minutes against Southampton?
No, just because we've got a league game anyway midweek against Stoke, so you can rotate. Then you can bring Lukonga in, you can bring
Stoke.
Ainsley in.
Oh, Sunderland.
Oh, Sunderland. Sorry. Oh, yeah, Sunderland. Sorry,
I was
I
like,
don't know
we
where I
cannot
got
be played
Stoke.
Stoke.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I was gonna.
it's like
And
gave me
then I
like,
think,
oh God,
yeah.
Stoke.
Sorry, I thought, I don't know why I got where that came from. Yeah, Sunderland. Sorry. Yeah. We've got a league game anyway midweek, so you can rotate then, rest players then if you need to. But for me, just play what's working, because we need. The thing is, we put ourselves in situations where we need to break the voodoo in a way. And because we've been so poor away from home, like Everton, United, there's not been really a convincing away performance yet. I just think stick to the same thing that has worked, and just break that duck first, and then we can look at rotating. And because once that pressure's off, because the issue that we have at Arsenal is the minute something becomes a trend, and we've not won 3, 4, 5 away games, we're never going to win an away game. It starts becoming, oh, they've not done it away from home. Oh, they've not done it away, and it becomes that question. Just stick to what's working and rotate midweek, and then we've got Norwich anyway. So that again, you can rotate in the game like that. And yeah, we're playing Norwich at home, aren't we? I think.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, we're playing Norwich away. We're playing Norwich away,
Oh, either way,
so
we should be beating them
I
anyway.
think,
But
well, if we, I mean, this team, this particular team played against Everton, played against Southampton, played against West Ham. I think they have maybe one more game in them, and then
yeah,
we
and then
can,
rest
like you
them.
said, rotate against
Yeah.
Sunderland. But I have this weird feeling about trying to fix something that ain't broke. Like, because I mean, the back five should primarily stay the same. Tierney needs to continue to
I'm
play.
not against
Uh,
Lokonga coming in for Party. I'm not completely against that, but
but
I
does
don't think.
Thomas Party do we need to get the most out of Thomas Party while he's here? Because the reality is he hasn't had a good season. He's just hitting a little bit of form, a little bit against Southampton, a little bit of a better game against West Ham. Is there not an argument to just keep him in and keep Xhaka and him playing together until, because it's gonna get broken up at some point against in AFCON? Do you not feel like maybe we just need to keep it together, or do you think maybe rotate? I mean, I'm just
I
yeah.
don't think we need to, because like we know Xhaka some, when it comes to his fitness anyway, he's some superhuman. Like, he never needs a break. Partey is the only question mark because he's proven to be quite injury prone since he's come to Arsenal anyway. So
Yeah.
I mean, as long as he's fit, like, I don't see the point. I mean, these guys are athletes. I think we get so sort of bothered by this rotation thing, and we forget that actually they're good enough, they're fit enough, and they're not a Premier League footballer for no reason. And I think because
Yeah.
we've got the fortune of a midweek game being, and we didn't get a tough draw. I say that with light words because it's still, a quarter final, but we're playing a side that's not in the same league as us, and it's actually in a lower league. We can actually rotate for that game and then bring them back in against Norwich, and I think that's all it is for me. I don't think we need to do it. I'd understand if we had a midweek game that we really needed Partey and Xhaka for. Then I'd be like, okay, you can rotate them against Leeds because we could do with Ainsley and Lokonga and still beat them. But because it's a league game, I'm willing to risk them in this game and then rest them for the league game. But again, like, there's no real report saying they're injury or they've got doubts to play, so there's no need to. I think just play them into form, and then we'll rotate midweek.
Yeah, I was playing around with stuff, you guys. So
Why is
let's start this
Rodriguez
over.
there and Arthur? What?
Because
What?
we've been linked. We've been linked. So
Oh,
I was playing
okay.
around with it. We've been linked. I love me a little link it and link. So let's see. Let's do this. So we will be getting into transfers soon. You guys, just sidebar, like, just hold on. I need to get back on the big screen. So just sidebar, you guys know, like, I love South American players, and like, I'm like, the more we can get in our team, the better. We were linked with Artur, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, I love Arthur Mello. Like, I love him. That was the most scandalous, weird swap I've ever seen in my life. Him and Pjanic. It made absolutely no sense. He was such a baller at Barcelona, and obviously in a not as good Barcelona side, but still, the guy was so good. 25 years old, rotting at Juventus. I think he was part of the team that won the Copa America for Brazil, not this last one, but the one before that. And so when I saw that little link, I just thought to myself, I know it's scandalous. I know some money will have to go underneath the table, but damn, that guy is good. Go and watch watch Artur Melo compilations. That guy's mustard. I would take him at Arsenal. But What do you think about Arthur before we get
Oh yeah,
into
no,
the lineup?
I mean, obviously, Barca's kind of like a second team to me. So, like when he was late, I was buzzing. Like he is a phenomenal player. Was it like he was in the Brazilian league. He was absolutely bossing it in the with the Club World Cup or whatever it's called, and he had like man of the match performances before he obviously got his move to Barcelona, and I didn't get it. I was like, what on earth is this swap deal? Because money was exchanged and the players were exchanged, and I was like, this is why I wanted Bartomeu out for a long time, because it's like he doesn't know how to run a football club, and even in that poor side, to be honest, imagine De Jong, Arthur, and Busquets balling out right now. And even if you wanted a
Ah,
partner
tears.
for Partey, or even if you wanted a Partey replacement, or if you wanted anything, he can do both the roles, in my opinion, from what I've seen, to a really good level. It's just unfortunate that both his transfers haven't worked out. Not
I
his
know it's
fault, but they
devastating.
haven't played him. They haven't. That's what I'm saying. Like it's not his fault. It's not a player thing. It's just one of those where it's not a Saul moment where Saul's being played, but he's just been shit. It's just Arthur
Mm.
hasn't played. That's the difference.
Yo, I would take him in January.
Yeah, same.
Juventus is doing him so freaking dirty. It makes no sense. And obviously, we've been linked with Guido Rodriguez as well, Argentinian. You guys know, like I just love, like I love it. But we'll get to that on another day. We'll get to that on another day. Let's get back into it. So this is kind of like our little formation. It's cute. It's a 4-2-3-1. We can deal with it. What I like is that this pretty much just it picks itself at this point. We don't have
The
to really
defense
worry
does,
about it
yeah.
too much. Yeah, Gabriel is. I still am mad that he's not one of the first one that pops up, and I have to keep scrolling. I just think it's disrespectful that he's so
At
far
least
down
he's
the
got his
list of
picture there.
Gabriels.
There was one
Yeah,
footing dealer on a picture.
yeah. I don't. I still think Pablo Marie doesn't have a picture. Let's check.
Oh, he
I
doesn't
thought.
deserve a picture.
Ah, he
Oh,
has a
he's got
picture
one.
now.
He's
Oh, he
got
didn't
one.
have one before. He didn't have one before. Okay, yeah. Tomiyasu, who has been an absolute. I think it's because, like, honestly, we've been so like Bellerin was just like he's this opposite of Bellerin in every way, shape, and form. So it's just nice to see somebody that can actually
An
play right
actual
back, play
right
there.
back.
Yeah, exactly. Even though there was like tons of questions about whether he was a right back or not, which is weird.
I
But
said right now he's a right back, but in the future I see him as a centre back. But
yeah,
that can be enough.
probably. I mean, I could see
That's the
that.
same as what Sergio Ramos did. He started off as a right back, and then obviously he had some of his
He
greatest
moved.
moments as centre back. So it can happen. Oh,
So
left back's a tough one.
do we need to put Tavares back in, or because I just think Kieran Tierney, honestly,
He's been
I
phenomenal.
felt comfort. I felt comfort when he was playing back there. And I know that he's not as fun or whatever as Tavares, but Kieran Tierney was good against West Ham. He almost scored a goal. Do we need to switch it up, or do we just keep Kieran Tierney in until he gets hurt again?
As long as he's not hurt or injured or doubtful or any of that, don't change it. Like, don't change the left back. There's
Yeah.
at some point in the attack we can have a little debate about, but right now, um, yeah, just I don't see the point unless he's injured or doubtful. Yeah, I think I'd stick with
100%. I know Tavares probably wants to play, but like he left the door cracked. He left the door cracked against I think it was like Man United. No, yeah, no. Well, he did not play well against Everton when he came in. He had
yeah.
a little bit of a mistake there, so he left the door cracked for Kieran Tierney to kind of solidify himself back in this team. And I think it's I don't know. I just feel good with Kieran Tierney back there. So we'll just keep it like that. But now we get into midfield. We've kind of already talked about it. Maybe we should just keep things the same. Get this partnership, this starting partnership going week in and week out until it's eventually broken apart when AFCON comes around. And also Sambi and Tavares could potentially play against Sunderland and tear it up then. So maybe we don't need to move things around. Now, I think Odegaard keeps his spot. Now, did you notice when Smith Rowe scored? Did you notice that when Smith Rowe scored, they panned over to Odegaard and they showed Odegaard's face and he looked pissed. He was so mad. Like you could just tell he was like he scored, So I think you keep Odegaard in the team because he might score a goal or two in this game. What do you think about Odegaard? Like, did you think he played well against West Ham, and do you think he keeps his spot, or does Emil come back in?
This is this. I know this is gonna sound mad, but the debate's more Martinelli or ESR for me. But Odegaard has
Yeah, me too.
for me, Odegaard has to play for a number of reasons. Even if he doesn't score a goal, the thing he offers you, for me anyways, and I know this may be biased and this may be because I like Odegaard and I think he's got a lot to offer, but not only does he have the goal threat, if that's what you want to put it as, but he's offered us a lot more control and stability. And if you are someone who watches games back, you start to realize a lot more about the little touches or the little things that Odegaard does in a game that just help us keep the ball, even if it's for an extra second or two. But it really helps our attacks, and he holds the ball enough to allow a Saka or a Martinelli or an ESR or a Lacazette or whoever it may be that's playing in the attack to progress forward and actually get attacking. And to be honest with you as well, he's a vocal silent leader, whereas you don't really notice he's a leader, but he's leading the team. He leads the presses. I think there's no need to drop Odegaard for me. If you want to sustain a 90-minute performance, plus he could have had a few goals again. So I like it that he was pissed off, to be honest, because that just shows that
Oh, it was
that
great. It
friendly,
was
competitive
amazing.
nature. I love to see it. He's like,
Looking at
right, I'm
his
gonna get
face,
you
I
the
was
next
like,
game.
yeah, I was like, he wants another goal because he wants to be like the main guy, which I love. But what I will say is that I think that it was interesting. Well, let me say this first, is that the combinations that we've seen over the last two games have been the strongest, and the partnerships that are coming with those combinations kind of has to stick together. So Xhaka and Thomas Partey, Tierney and Xhaka, Tierney and Martinelli, Saka and Tomiyasu. These are things that we need to start building them and making sure that they're strong. But I think it was really interesting that I think James McNicholas from Gunner Blog dropped that little piece, that little gem this morning about he's been told from people in and around the club that Arteta sees Martinelli as a
As a
central
natural leader.
forward, as
Oh,
a center forward. And I'm talking about Martinelli, and I'm just like, can
all right.
Lacazette play 4 games in a row? Do we believe that Lacazette could play against Everton, then turn around and play against Southampton, then turn around and play against West Ham, and we're going to get that same Lacazette? He ran his knees off. James McNicholas said that they're looking at it, Martinelli as center forward. Could we see Martinelli play center forward against Leeds, or do we think Lacazette's going to play 4 games in a row? What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, because we've had this discussion when we do think Martinelli is going to be a centre forward in the future. Whether how quickly that happens is dependent on his development. I think he's there because I think his game has rounded off really well. I don't know if it's too early or whether, because my feeling is Lacazette plays.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Martinelli, Saka, and ESR play. That's what I'd love to see. Personally, that's what I want to see it. And I think, but do you know what kind of the issue is because Lacazette's not the one going to AFCON, we don't, Arteta's like, I don't need to try it because I'll have Lacazette anyway. So I don't
Sure.
have a reason to experiment with it, because if Lacazette was also, let's say, going to AFCON, then he's kind of left in this situation where he needs to try it before they go, to try and get the right way to play it. But I don't think he changes this. I think it's going to be Lacazette, Martinelli, and Saka playing. I think ESR suffers again. Not a fault of his own, but just that's how hot. And I love it, by the way, because unfortunately, if you get an injury, if you get a knock and you miss a game, and the player that comes in for you performs, you've got to earn your place back. And that's the downside, should we say, of having a really good team.
Oh.
Oh no, we don't want that. We do not want that.
Oh.
Disastrous.
Oh gosh. But yeah, I think that we're in a position now where I don't think anybody's missing out, because especially in this group of players, anybody is missing out because they're not any good or whatever. It's because We just have good players that are playing well. And I have to be honest, and I said this in the last stream, and I haven't felt like this before because usually it's the other option is so bad or I dislike it so much that it makes it so obvious what I want to see. But with ESR, I just I prefer Martinelli and Saka. I think that balance is a lot more dangerous and a little bit more what I prefer than ESR and Saka. I think ESR likes to show to feet. Lacazette wants to show to feet. Saka likes to show to feet. So you don't really have an option going in behind. Martinelli gives you something a little bit different. And because he's rounded off his game a little bit more, I think it just what are these comments? You guys are wilding out today. I'm done. But no, I don't think all black players look the same. But yeah, I think because everybody wants to come to feet, we don't necessarily have something going in behind. And so for me, I think the best option would be to keep Martinelli in. He's kind of getting his goal scoring, thing going back, and we kind of need that. So I'm going to keep it the way that it is and just hope it continues to work.
Yeah, because I mean, when we look at it, ESR off the bench gave us a different dynamic when the game was being killed off for us in a way that where we really didn't look we were in it, and then obviously we brought ESR on, and it kind of changed the dynamic again, and we kind of started to bring back our control. And I think maybe sometimes, you know what, that's what you need. And unfortunately, this is the consequence of having. It's like when I look at Man City, for example, it's the consequences of having that many good players that unfortunately, if you're injured or if you don't play a game or if you don't play a few games, it's going to be very, very, very difficult for you to get back in, especially with the way Martinelli's played. Unfortunately, ESR's going to have to do a lot. The other thing I could see happening, which is what he's done before, is Martinelli going over to the right and ESR coming in and Saka being rested. But I don't know.
But Saka, he just played so well that I want to
That's
see
the
him do
issue,
it
yeah.
again. Like,
Yeah.
and
I
I'm
just
like,
want to
now I'm
see the
like
guy play. I don't, yeah.
selfish.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, if I woke up Saturday morning and I looked at the lineup and it was Martinelli off of the right and ESR off of the left and Saka was rested, I wouldn't cry about it. I'm not really interested in seeing Eddie Nketiah, so I don't really want to see him, but everybody else has an opportunity. I'm just joking. But no, I'm actually not. I don't want to see Nketiah in this team right now. But he could play against Sunderland.
Yeah.
Yeah, not start.
And the other
But
thing I don't mind is if Martinelli starts up front and ESR comes in. I don't mind that either. But this is a
yeah.
wonderful thing to have this predicament, because it's like, well, this is the first time in a long time where we're like, you know what, if he does this or if he does that, I'm not going to cry about it. Whereas if he decided to put Nketiah in that team, I'd be like, what on earth are you doing?
Yeah, for sure. Colby says, if you notice, O drops on the right and looks to slip in Saka, and Lack drops in on the left and slip in Gabby. If you watch, it's been a consistent pattern.
Yeah.
That's a good pickup. Yeah, for sure. And it just, I'm just going to be real. I think for a while, since ESR started playing in the team, we have played so much better when Lacazette has been in up front. I just feel like that's always been when we've cooked more, and I get that you want to force Aubameyang into this team, but this kind of forced emission of Aubameyang for me, as much as I don't have anything against him, but I just think we play better with Lacazette up top because he just fits what we're trying to do a little bit more. And he can be dead in front of goal sometimes, but damn, he helps link that play the way that we need. So him dropping in and him and Odegaard playing as those 2 10s. And then we have Saka, has end product now, or is growing more in stature in terms of his end product. And then Martinelli on the other side. I'm loving it. So I want it to continue to happen.
That's actually how we scored one of our goals as well. Like Martinelli's goal came from Lacazette being like sort of drifted off to the right hand side.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got did he get the assist or did he pass it off to? Anyways, because of the way
got
he
an
held it up.
assist. He got the ball from Gabriel, turned and then slipped Martinelli in behind. So then even Odegaard slips Saka in, and like their relationship is starting to become a lot better. And I know that there was a lot of apprehension and reluctance to like really love that Odegaard signing because we felt like him and Saka would be in each other's way, in that right half space. But I think as they learn each other a little bit better, it won't be as big of a deal. But I'm just loving it. Yeah, so Nashville says I wouldn't be upset if Saka was rested. Mohammed says use your squad and start Pepe. You're not an Arsenal fan, no way. Are you an Arsenal fan? Are you
Yeah, but
trolling?
there are Arsenal fans that like
Are
Pepe
you trolling?
for
I feel
some
like
reason,
only like a rival fan would say start Pepe at this time. Like
especially
the
after
guy
the
is
comments and
just
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Tam says give Saka 2 games off against Leeds and Sunderland. I
Do
don't
we need
know,
to though?
because
Because we've got, like I said, we've got Sunderland. Like you can rest him then, and you'll have a week off. I think we're so. I don't know why, as Arsenal fans, why are we so obsessed with resting players, especially with how like
because
science
because
and
we're traumatized because of
yeah, that's
Diaby, because of
fair enough.
Wilshere, because of Ramsey, because of Eduardo. We are
Yeah, if
traumatized,
he
so we're
plays
like,
against
sit him down.
Sunderland, I'll be like, fuck it, like, all right, we need to rest a player. But if he doesn't play against Sunderland, that's enough of a break for him.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally for me, I think that like if he decided to rest somebody in this game, like I wouldn't be devastated by it. But I think any combination of ESR, Martinelli, and Saka will be fine. But I don't know if Pepe is going to give us that same, so I would be apprehensive about bringing him in if I'm honest. But here's a question here. Tam says, do you think Tomiyasu is being told to play as an inverted fullback instead of overlapping by Arteta? Um, because we've seen this with Bellerin, Chambers, Cedric at times. Um, I think in this system, the right wing is always quite isolated on that right side, and they tend to hold the width on their own. And Tamiyasu will only overlap every once in a while, but not really that often. So I do think it's coached, but I also think it suits who he is. I don't think he's an overlapping fullback by nature anyway. So asking him to do it, I think, would be a little clunky. But what do you think, Souls?
I think it's a structural thing because obviously we've identified that we're gonna hold three players back. And obviously, with Granit Xhaka coming back into the fold, we could be seeing. That's why we're seeing Tomiyasu a bit more attacking since Xhaka's come back because Xhaka's now taken the third man role, whereas with now it's White,
Yeah.
Gabriel, Xhaka. Whereas with before it used to be Tomiyasu, White, and Gabriel. And then obviously because we
Mhm.
didn't really trust Lokonga to come back in and sort of fill in the left hand space, um, we've just said to Tommy, you're not going to attack, you're just going to sit back. And to be fair, when he has attacked, we've looked threatening. So it's not that he can't do it or he doesn't want to do it, but it just depends on personnel and whether we can get because we clearly haven't gotten to the trust barrier of just trusting Ben White and Gabriel to be the lone two defenders when we attack. So that'll come with time. I think once they get a little bit more experience, we'll start attacking with just two defenders and then having Tomiyasu and Kieran Tierney both go forward. That's looking like
I
what he
think we'll
wants to
bring
do.
in a new right back
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
point. When we get to
At
that
that
point,
point,
I
yeah,
think a new
and then
right
we'll have
back will come in.
Tomiyasu as one of the centre back options.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think he's been good enough when he goes forward, but I think it's a system thing. I think it's just personnel. When we have the right personnel, Tomiyasu will be given the reins to attack. But when we don't have the right midfield, then he might be the one to be told, look, you can sit back because Saki
Sure.
can do it on his own.
Yep.
And then
Nashville
you've got
Gooner
Odegaard
said,
anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Nashville says, if you rest Saka, do you play ESR on the right or Odegaard?
you play Martinelli on the right.
I think, yeah, you play Martinelli on the right and you
Yeah.
stick ESR on the left. I'm not really interested in seeing Odegaard play right wing. I know he did it at Real Sociedad, but I'm not interested in seeing it at Arsenal, to be honest.
He's a
I'm
better
not
10 for
interested.
Arsenal than he is anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Mohammed said I bleed red. So he's an Arsenal fan, but then somebody else said that he's an Arsenal fan that wants Pepe to play but hates Thomas Partey. I think I remember that from like yesterday that you guys were saying that. So that's funny. Kobe says the last 2 games, I've been happy seeing Xhaka stay co-located in the middle with Partey rather than dropping into left back. We look better when Gabriel shifts to the left. We do, and that's such a good pickup, Colby. I think that like him dropping into that left space in behind Kieran Tierney and leaving Thomas Partey isolated in midfield has always caused issues for us. We just don't do well that way. I don't think Thomas Partey is good by himself alone in the midfield. and having them closer together makes a lot of sense. And Gabriel just pinching off and everybody shifting over has been a really good tactical shift. So I do agree with that.
Have
You
you
agree with that
realised
too,
that
Souls?
Shaq has been given the role of late runs into the box, which is so bizarre.
But he
But
needs to work on his shooting.
yeah, did you see that shot? I was like,
Jeez.
yes,
No,
I
it's
was like,
like it
yes,
took him
Shaq has
forever
scored.
to shoot. He was
Yeah,
like, he had to take like those, like, it's like a really bad like football player. It's like
he had a
step, step,
nosebleed. He was
step,
like,
step,
what the
step,
fuck am I
and
doing
then
here?
left.
Yeah,
I was like, just shoot. Just if he had just kicked it with his toe, it would have went in. I was like, I can't believe
I
Xhaka.
thought he scored. I was like, yes, Shaq has scored. I was like, oh, you're an idiot. You just did the most Shaq thing you could have.
Yeah, no, I
But I
fully
do
get it.
like that
It's
tactical switch where we've now told him you bomb. But yeah, like you said, he just needs to shoot better, like
in
most
the
of the team
net.
do. Yeah,
In the net. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Sojo Majraoui on a free. I am feeling that. I can't lie. We have a little bit of a divide in our group chat about whether or not Majraoui would be the right back to come in, but he is on a free, just like Zachariah would be on a free, and I think that that's a good market opportunity. When I see him play for Ajax, again, he's not an overlapping fullback. He's not like like Lamptey. Like that's
yeah,
not what
he's
he's like,
inverted. Yeah,
but he's more of a midfielder, but he's very 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 good and technically sound. I would love to see him at Arsenal, but he is light, he's light. So he's
but you
definitely
can
not going to
work
be
on that.
back there like Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So John P says, is there a striker on the market of the quality we need that you guys think might be available in Jan, or do you think we will spend it if the right opportunity comes along? The striker market is shit. Like it's so bad because it's just like beyond, like once you get below, like, so there's world class but like already ready to go. So like, or a senior, like, so that's like Lewandowski and them. We ain't getting nowhere near that. Then there's Haaland and Mbappe that are like definitely going to be world class, but are young. We ain't getting near that at all. Then there's that section right below that's going to cost you 60 to 80 to 100 million, but none of them are really proven and don't solve all of our issues. That's your Osimhen, that's Calvert Lewin, that's Vlahovic, that's Isak, that's that group that's right underneath. On the Surrey, you can put him in there as well. I think they're all a risk because none of them really fill every requirement, but they're going to cost a shit ton, and we don't know if it's going to work. So I don't know what we're going to do, to be honest, John. Adu has a lot of work to do on that striker position because it has to be right, and I think we're going to spend big. So what do you think, Souls? And don't sit here and tell me you think Haaland is coming. Like,
Oh, he
don't sit
can
here and
come.
tell
No,
me
I'm
that.
joking. I'm joking. No, that'd be ideal if we could get him. I wouldn't want Mbappe, to be honest. I know that sounds a bit controversial, but if I had the choice of the two, I'd go Haaland. But that moves me
Anyways,
on nicely to another profile who's a risk, but I like, and it's Vlahovic. And I hate Newcastle now. They can do one for bidding £100 million. Like, why? When no one's bidded that high. Like, why do you need to just be idiots? Because that really annoyed me when they did that. But I still think we can get the job done for 60 million. We can put in a bid for 60 to 70 million. If Vlahovic has ambition, the clubs after him are Spurs, Arsenal, and Newcastle. I mean, let's be honest, like Newcastle in his head, when you've got Spurs and Arsenal on the table, shouldn't even be a thought right now. Maybe he believes in their project or whatever, but for me, Vlahovic ticks most of the boxes, or all of the boxes pretty much, for me as a striker that we need. His goal scoring record speaks for itself, and I know it's a Serie A, and people are going to be like, well, that doesn't always translate to the Premier League, and I agree, but when you look at the style of striker he is and the way that we kind of just cross the ball in and cutbacks and the way that he scores his goals are similar to that. And he's quite a strengthy striker. He can play that target man style as well. But then you've got the likes of Jonathan David who offer you a different dimension, such as like an Isaac, for example, as well. They offer you that sort of pacey, sort of running behind chaos strikers,
mhm.
and they offer you that sort of come in deep, collect the ball, and kind of make something happen. So it's always difficult because it depends. Because for me, what I want is a Vlahovic, but Arteta could want a David. So it's a bit of a It depends on what Arteta wants in this
What
situation.
are they doing? Like, is it I mean, because for me, it's like when I watch Lacazette play, I'm like, "Okay, we need a better version of Lacazette that has a physical presence in the box."
That's
Like,
Vlahovic.
that's what I think. But then it's like people want Osimhen. I'm like, "That is Aubameyang." Osimhen is
Exactly.
Aubameyang a couple of years ago, and I don't think that that fits us anymore. Like, I really don't. Then I said this in one of our group chats earlier. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, to me, I worry about his technical ability and I worry about his buildup. I haven't seen it, and I think that he's great in the box and he would make us better there, but there would be like a ceiling, there. We'd be looking at him like, okay, well, his buildup isn't that great. So I just don't think any of the options really scream like that's the one. I was telling the the viewers yesterday that I've been watching a little bit of Darwin Nunez. I think he's going to be a superstar in the future, and he has a lot of the ingredients. But again, he's not the finished article. So you're looking at somebody that is going to need some time to cook. Um, but he's a really good player. So it just depends. Again, I prefer to get the profile and hope that they develop rather than get somebody who's closer to being the finished article but doesn't have the ingredients. I feel like that's going to be an issue. But I like Jonathan David. I think he's an interesting proposition. He could be somebody that improves us. Uh, but that's all up to Adu. Adu needs to get it done. And right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they were sitting there with a bunch of pictures on the wall, like which one? Like, which one is gonna really
It
do the
is
business.
difficult. I don't mean I wouldn't want the job for that because it for me it's more common sense to how we're playing now rather than the way we want to play because we don't need to develop a new system or a new strategy to playing our football. We just need to get a striker who kind of sits in the box but can do the hold up play but can score goals. And for me, that's why I'm a bit more like I hope we go for a Vlahovic type rather than I think if we go for Vlahovic as our main target and then bring in let's say Jonathan Davids or an Isaac or a someone like that as a secondary striker, that's a plan B for me, and I'm not opposed to that. But for me, plan A needs to be the one we spend the big money and get it right, and then we can always get a David, for example, and have him as a secondary option. And he's younger, and he's still got time to develop. So that I wouldn't mind if we played it that way. But again, it just depends, really, doesn't it?
Or we could just go get Gabriel Jesus and make all my little dreams come true. That would make me happy. But everybody would be mad because he doesn't score goals. He doesn't score goals, but he works really hard, you guys, and he's Brazilian. What's
We
up?
can play a Aubameyang then if you want. He works hard.
Oh my gosh, I would love to have him at Arsenal, but I don't think that would fly. Elliot Roberts says Vlahovic, DCL, and Jonathan David, Arsenal strike force. What I will say is that I think that the club will end up getting more than at least one striker and one attacker, or two strikers. I would prefer them to get one striker and one attacker, something a little bit different, somebody that can play as a wide forward instead of getting two out and out strikers so we could use them at once, but either way, you guys don't go in on my Gabriel Jesus. Don't go
I'm not a fan. I'm
don't
not a
go
fan.
in
Not
on
not
him. I love that kid. I think he's so good.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
Like I
really
said,
do.
he can be the second to Vlahovic. I don't mind that, but not
The
as my
second
main.
to Vlahovic.
Yes,
Lord.
or
Yeah, he's
Haaland.
another Lacazette. Like, and that's what we're looking for. Is another Lacazette, but like better. Like
No, we need the goals and Lacazette. That's what we need.
he can score goals. Look at his goal record is better than anybody at Arsenal.
Yeah, but that's not an
Look at that.
achievement, is it? It's not
Yeah,
really.
it is. Yeah, it
Vlahovic is
is.
better
Yeah,
than
it
both
is.
of Jesus and
Oh
all the
my
Arsenal,
gosh, I
combined.
cannot. So we have Jesus in the running. See, Dave says Jesus is underrated. That's what I'm
I
saying.
rate him. I do rate him, but I just don't know whether he. I mean, he solves an issue, but he just doesn't solve the goal scoring issue. That's
Like
my
Gabriel
problem.
Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka running at you. Yo, like I would want that,
Martinelli,
but
Saka,
that's
yeah,
just.
Gabriel Jesus, will be like, right, he's
But
got a miss in him.
essentially, I'm just trying to make Arsenal into Brazil light, Brazil FC, Brazil B. Like that's pretty much what I'm trying to
That's
That's it. That's it. That's it. I have no shame. I have no shame in my game.
It's not a
Usually, if
bad
I see a
shout, but like
Brazilian
I
player,
said,
I'm
I
like,
want him
are
as a
they good?
second option, not as my first stuff. Not even City don't use him as a striker anymore. That's like how bad he is.
Arteta, Arteta, can you make it happen, please? Like, oh my gosh, I'd be like tear in my eye. No, I'm joking, but I'm just joking around. I'm not, because if he came to Arsenal, I would be happy. But I don't think he would come to Arsenal. I don't think it's the right move. But last but not least, Eagle Eyed asked a question earlier, and Eagle Eyed said, "It seems like the fans are singing Vieira's name more often. Would you want Patrick Vieira to be your next manager?" I think we're going back into sentiment. I could see Arsenal doing something like that because they seem to like to hire people that have used to play for Arsenal. Um, but I've watched Crystal Palace over the last couple of weeks, and I do think a little bit of the bounce is kind of wearing off just a little bit. And so I'm not quite sure at the moment if I believe that Vieira is that next manager after Arteta that's going to help us win titles. Because essentially, Arteta has to get us into the top four, and then whoever takes over from him needs to be able to try to help us win titles. And I'm not sure that I see that yet. I want him to become that. I love Patrick Vieira. But what do you think about him? Like, can you see, you know, that ever becoming something, or do you think that it's kind of a ways away?
Um, I don't know because I know a lot of his managerial career. You can contribute to recruitment. You can contribute to the clubs that he's been at haven't recruited really well. But at the same time, he's not really. It's like Henri in a way. Like he's had obviously with Henri, he's just had a poor managerial career, and Vieira so far hasn't been like, oh my god, we need Vieira. Like, yes, his football is great. His football is something that can be sustained with better players. But at the same time, if there's no proof in the pudding, it's a little bit difficult to sit there because he's had the issue is with Arteta, he's an unknown entity, so you don't know whether to get excited or whether not to get excited. And the reason why we got excited was because of Sane, Sterling, heaping praises on him. So we were like, right, okay, he could actually come in and develop these players. Whereas with Vieira, we're yet to see something, or even a bit of praise where you can sit there and go, you know what? People think he's revolutionary, or he's done something which we can see with the eye that actually he's he's changed football in a way. And I'm not asking him to invent a whole new system, but there needs to be something if you've been a manager before to see what can you do? And like, I'm not gonna lie, he's flattered to deceive at the moment. As much as I love Vieira, I'm not really when it comes to I'm not really sentimental about it because as a player, I can separate. For
Well,
me,
you're
as a
not
player, he's
sentimental
done.
because you didn't watch Patrick Vieira play.
I did watch him enough, but as a player, I can appreciate what he's done. But it's like with Arteta, like as a player, yeah, he's on one side. As a manager, you're a whole new person to me. Like now, I'm judging
True.
you as a manager. You're not an Arsenal manager legend, so I couldn't care less. Like you could go the next day for me. Whereas as a player, that legacy will never be touched for me. Even if Vieira came in and relegated us, I still would say the player brilliant, the manager shit. That's the way I am. Like but I've not
True.
seen enough to say that he's the one that needs to come after Arteta.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like, let's just wait and see a little bit longer, before we get all lost in the Vieira sentiment. We are sentiment FC. Like we really, really are. We love a story. We like Disney. We're all up in that. Like, but I wanted like whoever succeeds, Arteta needs to be a world class manager at this point. Like I just feel as though, we need to go out and do the business. And I'm not sure that Patrick is that, but I hope that he becomes that.
Oh yeah.
Graham Brooks says, "What about the Barcelona link swapping Aubameyang for Dembele?" This is more a question for you because that guy has been a sick note for so long. I also know that it's I'm not sure for sure because I don't know them like that. But from my understanding, Aubameyang and Dembele are damn near best friends. So I don't know if I
Yeah.
see Dembele coming over to Arsenal after Aubameyang's been shipped out. But that guy has so much talent in his boots, but he's constantly on the medical table. Do you think that that would be a worthwhile swap? I'm sure intermediaries have floated that. because they both are on pretty much like the same money. So you kind of could do a swap and it wouldn't hurt anybody financially, really. They need a striker. We kind of need a winger, but does that solve any of our issues?
I mean, yeah, for about 3 games a season, maybe if that, if you're lucky. Um, but he's a problem. The thing is, what people forget is Dembele is a huge problem outside of football.
He
He's
eats chicken
had,
nuggets still.
yeah,
He
yeah,
needs a
like
chef.
yeah, like
Like,
I mean, you've got your dream move that you cried to go to Barcelona. You stopped turning up to training. You stopped doing all of that to get your dream move to go to Barcelona for 150 million pounds. Obviously, with add-ons, etc., like that, it'd reach about 150 million pounds. And then he comes to Barcelona, and within his first few months, he's eating takeouts. He's not really looking after himself. The club are having to accommodate, getting chefs for him, making sure, making basically treating him like a little baby. Where you've got to eat this at this time. Now it's food time. Come on, Dembele, come down. Let's have some food. Like that's not the culture we want at Arsenal. So I don't. If it happens, I'll be very baffled because there's clearly not been a personality background test on him. Like I check on him to see how he's compatible. Uh, Bags of talent, but he's one of those players who's going to be remembered as bags of talent, but has ruined his own career, and that's the way I see him right now. I want him to turn it around. I hope he has that Gnabry moment where the light bulb goes off in his head and goes, you know what? I'm actually a lot more talented than people are making me out to be. So I'm gonna go show that to people. I'm gonna prove that to people, and I just hope he does that. Then yes, I'll take him. But right now, hell no. That's my personal opinion.
I feel the
I
same
watch
way.
Barcelona and I'm frustrated. I just want to go there and just smack him really hard in the face, just to be like, wake up. You're really talented. You've got a whole like he should be Mbappe levels. I know that sounds crazy, but
Stop
he
eating
should be.
chicken nuggets. That's what somebody needs
Yeah,
to tell him. He needs to get on a good diet and stop his
he's
bones
such a little
from
kid.
crumbling. You need some milk, boo. Like, damn, he is just so
Even the doctors
brittle.
have said it. If
Like,
he has a better diet, he wouldn't have all these injuries.
exactly. Like, and he's 24. Like, I don't have time. Like, I really don't have time. It sounds good on paper, but like, no. Oh, no, Junior, I don't mind opposition fans viewing the stream. I was just asking because somebody said, what did they say? They said they wanted Pepe to play or Pepe to start. And I was like, there's no way you're an Arsenal fan if you want Pepe to start. I have no problem with opposition fans coming in. I encourage it. As long as we're all respectful, who cares? So if you're not an Arsenal fan, it doesn't matter. You're welcome here. Um, let's see what the score predictions are. Nashville, this is terrible. 2-2 draw. Mohammed says Dembele is a baby, needs some milk. Exactly, he really does. Eagle Eye says 3-0 to the Arsenal. I hope so. Um, Dembele is fresh. French is not coming. Ambulo says 3-0 to the Gunners. That would be great. We are so confident. You know what's weird is like people were confident before the West Ham game, but people are still confident now. And I'm just like, Elliot says 3-1 to the Arsenal. Uh, Muhammad says 2-0 minimum. That's all Muhammad will accept. He won't accept nothing else beyond like under 2-0. Cancun says 2-0 to the Arsenal. Tam says hopefully a 2-0 win. O'Malley says 4-0 to the Gunners. Dave says Arsenal 10, Leeds 2. Aiden says 2-0 to the Arsenal. Dave Riley 2-2. John says I would actually like Pepe to start a game. Io, are you here? No, I'm joking. 0, well, no, 2-0 to the Arsenal. I don't know why I read it like that. A 3-1 to the Arsenal. We are so confident. This is scary. Ish says 4-0 to the Arsenal. Uh, Idako, away game poor, 1-0 to the Arsenal. Oh, yeah, we'll see. We cannot concede. I do think that we need a clean sheet and at least one goal. That'll get us the win. But what is your score prediction?
My heart's like saying like this might be that game where we just end up scoring in because we did it last year when we beat them 4-1. I know the away leg was 0-0, or am I mixing seasons up again? I don't know. But
No,
anyway,
last season we beat them 4-2 at home, and then
or
but we
4-2, that's
drew
it. Yeah.
them 0-0 at their
And it was
place.
that the Pepe one where you headbutted a player or something? Or was that
Yes.
the season before? Yeah. But
No,
anyways,
that was
Pepe ain't
last
playing, so
season.
that won't be an issue. We won't have no headbutt situation. But we
Watch
could have,
him start.
yeah, and then headbutt someone again. But but no,
Well, there's no Alioski. He's gone, so
so
because
no
that's
bad
who it
blood there.
was.
Yeah, yeah, no bad blood
Mhm.
there. No, I think we're gonna. This might be the one where we break the voodoo, but we break it so much that we might actually turn the away record into positive. And I'm going with a big win. I think this might be one where we end up beating them 4-0.
I hope
I
so.
hope we do a 7-0 because that'll be funny. Because then my Bielsa agenda can continue. I'll be like, ha, you could not only did you get panned by City, but BTEC City beat you as well.
No, they're the B-Tech City. I swear, when I saw their fans saying, we're like the championship Man City, I was like, they need to go down. They need to go down. They just need to stop. Like, this is just too much. I just couldn't. And the buns were just annoying me. I was like, why they all got a bun? Like, why is that a thing? Like, it's
I
weird.
just want my Xhaka
But
agenda to be proven that actually he maintained performance for 90 minutes. So if this happens in this game, then I'm like, yeah, I told you so.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, you guys, Craig Malloy, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. We love the subscriptions, we love the comments, chat box, all that good and wonderful stuff. It all helps the channel
Ugh.
out. We're at about almost 5,500 subscribers now, so we're loving it. We're loving it. Z is clipping you because of what you've just said. I know you're not clipping me.
What bit the 4-0? Ah, clip me. I don't really care. Doesn't bother me. Because if we win
Probably
4-0,
that
I
little
look
part
like a
about being a B
genius.
Tech City as well.
Oh, people know
You
that I
know,
said that on Twitter, and everyone's called me delusional. But when I've questioned what's so delusional about it, I'm yet to see a response. Is it like a 40-day response? Is it coming from from the other side of the world or something? I'm waiting for it.
no, I would never wear that bun on the top of my head running. I just, oh, God, it's just like, oh,
Oh,
they think
man
they're
bun. All
so
right. I
good.
was
They
gonna say
think they're
what?
so good. Oh, so
Yeah,
gross.
you really hate them, don't
Um,
you?
oh, the agenda, like the agenda on them. It's why I won't accept Calvin Phillips as a good player. But what I will say is Bielsa should be ashamed of himself because he has ran that man into the ground,
Mm.
for sure. But yeah, you guys, I see you guys want to talk transfers. We will get to them when we have a chance. Literally,
What's your
I
score
think we just
prediction?
have to 2-0 to the Arsenal. I think we'll get 2 goals. I think Martinelli will score. I believe Odegaard will score. I saw it in his eyes. It was just so funny watching
Oh,
everybody
I love
stand up
that.
for Smith Rowe, and Odegaard was in his little jacket like,
Oh,
how
no.
dare you score? Like,
No.
it was great. So I think 2-0 to the Arsenal. I hope we keep a clean sheet. But yeah, we will get to transfers a little bit closer to January. It's just a little bit difficult right now because there's so many games. But I do want to talk Guido Rodriguez. I think that's an interesting link, one that doesn't necessarily get me off of my seat, but I think it's interesting because it's coming from a very reliable source. I have a friend who's a Betis and Arsenal fan, and I'm going to try to get her on to talk about Guido Rodriguez. We can talk a little bit more about our tour if you guys want to, because I freaking love him. And those links in, and we'll get into it. But for now, I'll leave you guys tomorrow. Player ratings immediately following the match. If we win, I'll be on the football terrace. If we don't, I will hide. So yeah, you can maybe catch me there. Souls, where can everybody find you?
Literally, just on Twitter right now, on Gunnar Souls. Yeah, that's it really. Short and sweet.
Perfect. You guys make sure you follow Souls on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at It's Justino and at SheKnowsArsenal. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.